Whoa, whoa. We live. We back. Got 3 men out of the 4 of the dream team. We back with another video. Today we're gonna do a follow-up. I saw that DMG had did like a what was it, like a freestyle Friday. And we had did a we did a topic. There was a challenge submitted to me in the back chat, and it was roughly about whether or not religion was the driving force behind wars. And so took that challenge. We was able to put something together for that. Did a
They
video.
started switching. They started moving the goalposts and started making it about body counts and all that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And so they kept mentioning Hitler. Like, I purposely didn't use Hitler because he was a controversial topic, but they still brought him up anyway. So I said, okay, well, let's just do a presentation on Hitler and just go from there. So today, Faith and Deception, the political exploitation of religious narratives by Hitler. So unveiling the ideological motivations behind World War II as a subtitle. I'm gonna try my best to not make this long-winded, because sometimes what happens is sometimes it gets long-winded. But I'm gonna go ahead and make this full screen.
I promise I ain't gonna cut you off or nothing, bro. I'm gonna let you rock unless you know what I'm saying, the floor get open to questions and all that.
I mean, y'all on the panels, however y'all want to talk, we're gonna get into it. I mean, so I wanted to just break down Hitler's stance on religion and World War II. Faith and Deception. So Adolf Hitler's stance on religion has long been a topic of debate and controversy among historians and scholars. Despite being born into a Catholic family, Hitler gradually distanced himself from organized religion. His philosophical outlook was shaped by ideologies such as nationalism, racism, and social Darwinism, which significantly influenced his worldview and actions during World War II. Before I go forward, I thought it was interesting that nationalism and racism, from Hitler's standpoint, I won't say in all communities when you have these discussions, but I feel like in the Black conscious community, what tends to happen is they want to give they tend to give Hitler the Christian charge, simply because he was born into a Catholic family on his mom's side. I didn't go into extreme detail, but if you do a little research, you'll find out that his dad was a skeptic and a naturalist, from what I understand.
I mean, honestly, how many people was raised in the church that are no longer Christians today?
Boom.
Like, it's really wild to me. But please, by all means, continue, King. I'm listening.
Say less. I'll go on to slide 2. So, of course, as I was saying, his early influence, Hitler was born into a Roman Catholic family in Austria in 1889. His upbringing included Catholic religious practices and teachings common in Central Europe during that time. This early exposure to Catholicism influenced his initial worldview and understanding of religion. We're going to give y'all that. You know what I'm saying? We're going to say, according to his mom, he was born into a Catholic family, So transitioning from religious upbringing to political ideologies. Hitler shifted his focus towards political ideologies as he matured and became more involved in politics. Gradually, he distanced himself from organized religion, moving away from the Catholic foundation of his early years. Instead, his attention turned to political doctrines, particularly emphasizing nationalism and racial superiority. This shift in focus marked a significant change in Hitler's beliefs and actions as he rose to power in Germany. His political ideologies took precedence over religious doctrines. This transition from religious influence to political ideology played a crucial role in shaping Hitler's worldview and guiding his decisions as a political leader. It began to manifest in key time frame notably in the mid 1920s, and continued to evolve throughout his political career. Dave, did you wanna say anything before I move forward? You on mute.
Sorry, can anybody hear me?
You good.
All right. So Hitler, when he went to jail, and this was after he had left Austria. He went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
He read a book called The Secret Doctrine. As a matter of fact, before he even read the book The Secret Doctrine, he wrote his memoir called Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf really explained all of his feelings and beliefs pertaining to the Jews. And he believed that Jews were behind all of they were in charge of everything. They ran everything. They ran the banks. They ran everything, all the way down to what, how people fought and what people did and things of that sort. So Hitler devised a plan to try to get rid of them because he had a social Darwinist belief system. And what that simply means is that only the strongest zebra survives. Social Darwinism teaches that in the idea of in the world of natural selection, um, there is a pecking order, genetically speaking, and he believed that the Jews were at the lowest rung on the genetic social order, so they needed to be exterminated. They believed that, so especially if you had brown, if you didn't have blue eyes and blonde hair, which, ironically enough, Hitler didn't either. As a matter of fact, Hitler was Jewish as well. So that is another thing that you should take note about. But in Austria, that's when all of his racial ideologies began to take shape. And when he got out and he went to Germany, he became chancellor because Germany was in shambles after World War I. Shambles. Inflation was sky high. Everything was just in a wreck economically. So when Hitler came into office and he became chancellor in 1933, he made a lot of promises. He said that Germany is going to be the place. And Germans, especially the German Jews, they voted for him. And so he became chancellor in 1933. And by the way, his party was the National Socialist Workers' Party, which just means Nazism. And so he was a National Socialist, which is not any different than what we see here in America. But National Socialism is pretty much part and parcel to the idea of Hitler being the sole dictator of Germany. And he nationalized the banks when he became, I think it was maybe a few years after he became Chancellor of Germany, took power in 1933, and he nationalized the banks, he nationalized the healthcare system. His secret police went to all of the schools and universities and told them that they cannot teach anything. They could not teach anything other than what the Fuhrer wanted. And so that's where, but all of his racial ideologies and his political ideas formed in Austria when he was in jail.
Roger that. So we're gonna move forward to the next slide. That was a good little breakdown, my boy. So let's talk about the Christian rhetoric versus his personal views. So his political expediency, Hitler strategically used Christian rhetoric in his public speeches to appeal to a predominantly Christian population and gain political support. This strategic use of religious language was aimed at fostering a sense of unity and garnering favor among the masses, especially during key political campaigns and rallies. It was a calculated move to strengthen his political position and rally support from a religiously inclined populace. So let's talk about private skepticism. Despite employing Christian rhetoric for political purposes, Hitler's private comments and actions revealed a deeper skepticism or outright rejection of traditional Christian doctrines. He held personal views that were critical of Christianity, viewing it as a religion that promoted weakness and moral decadence, particularly in its emphasis on compassion, humility, and forgiveness. Okay, Alan Bullock had an observation, and this is a historian. Alan Bullock captured Hitler's private sentiments regarding Christianity, highlighting Hitler's beliefs that Christianity was a religion suited only for subservient individuals, contrasting sharply with his ideological emphasis on strength, dominance, and the survival of the fittest. So the quotation is, in Hitler's eyes, Christianity was a religion fit only for slaves. He detested its ethics, in particular considering it a rebellion against the natural law of selection by struggle and the survival of the fittest. So that's just the opener, because oftentimes people give quotations out of context. So when he was at the podium and he was preaching or giving his speeches, of course you're going to appeal to everybody because you want the votes.
Yep.
But
that sounds like every politician ever.
Correct. You know, and a lot of people try to say it's a no true Scotsman fallacy, but when you peel back,
hold on. Real quick, bro. I'm sorry. Has Joe Biden forgiven student loans? Can anybody say if Joe Biden forgave their student loans? I'm just curious.
And my wife done been to school for years. Them master degrees that she's sitting on, all them classes that we paid for, we still owe that money, bruh.
I'm just asking. Continue. You were saying no true Scotsman.
Yeah, no true Scotsman is a fallacy where it's essentially trying to say is essentially where you saying that this person, you put the things together, say, oh, he's not this because of this. He's not this because of this. That's what they kind of, when we say Hitler is not a Christian, is because he wasn't. He used rhetoric in a finessing type of manner in order to get the views. But as you're going to see in a few minutes, that there are way too many quotations from him in his inner circle and places, you know, that actually matter, where he says specific things that if he was a Christian, he just wouldn't have said, you know, not to his buddies. And we're going to get into that in a second.
Well, but one thing before you go on is Hitler used Catholicism to push his socialist ideologies. He hated Christianity, hated the Bible.
Yeah, for sure. So
what's wild is, you know, I'm gonna wait till you get to that point before I speak to it. Continue, D.
Dave, if you want to read the private comments on Christianity, the first paragraph, go for it. Can you see that?
Yeah. In January 1940, during a conversation, Hitler stated that it should not be difficult for people to know his religion, indicating a certain level of transparency or assumed understanding regarding his beliefs. This statement is significant as it reflects Hitler's perception of his public image and how he wanted his religious views to be perceived by others.
You could read the next
paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moreover, Hitler expressed intense antipathy, a strong feeling of dislike towards Christianity in private conversations. One notable expression of this antipathy is his statement about the Christian-Jewish pestilence, quote unquote, approaching its end, reflecting his disdain for both Christianity and Judaism. He described it as, quote unquote, dreadful that a religion existed. And as a matter of fact, before I go on, he even claimed that it got in the way of true scientific enlightenment, but existed highlighting its contempt for organized religion and its rituals, such as Holy Communion, which he viewed as symbolic of the weaknesses he associated with Christianity.
Appreciate you. And so Albert Speer's insight unveiling Hitler's manipulative use of religion for political gain. Jay, if you want to read it, you can. If not, I want you to see the pictures that so eloquently pieced into this presentation, because a lot of people don't realize that they used a religious backdrop to get that stamp of approval.
Yeah, look at the priest holding up the Sieg Heil there. The one priest standing in front, standing next to one of the members of the secret police.
Yep. So Albert Speer was a prominent figure within the Nazi regime, serving initially as Adolf Hitler's chief architect and later assuming the role of Minister of Armaments and War Production during World War II. His organizational prowess was widely recognized, and he played a pivotal part in shaping the infrastructure and military capabilities of Nazi Germany. However, following the war, Speer faced charges at Nuremberg, trials for his involvement in war crimes, particularly regarding the use of forced labor during the late 1930s. Hitler's stance on the church shifted noticeably. Despite increasing opposition to church among his followers, Hitler maintained a strategic alliance with religious institutions, directing key associates like Goering and Goebbels to retain their memberships. This nominal attachment to the Catholic Church was primarily for political expedience rather than stemming from genuine religious conviction. So, in other words, the reason why he kept two of his high-ranking officials in place is so that he could keep tabs on what the church was thinking and doing, so that he could further fleece the flock into following his political narrative.
You mean like what Biden did with getting fried chicken with that black family?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, him and Hillary Clinton.
A lot of people play that game. Hey Jay, if you want, you could. I want you to, if you can see it, read this page out for me.
All right, I got you. Martin Niemöller, a prominent German pastor and theologian, is well known for his opposition to the Nazi regime during World War II. Initially supportive of Hitler, Niemöller later criticized the regime's treatment of Jews and other persecuted groups. He played a pivotal role, I can't see, in the Confessing Church, a movement within German Protestantism that resisted Nazi attempts to control religious institutions. Despite his opposition, Niemöller was imprisoned in a concentration camp. His famous quote highlights the dangers of remaining silent in the face of injustice. In stark contrast, Hitler's private expressions revealed a deep aversion to Christianity, sharply conflicting with his public religious imagery. His sarcastic imitation of Niemöller underscored his disdain for organized religion and its leaders. Despite using religious imagery for political gain, Hitler's private views exposed his contradiction and skepticism towards traditional Christian doctrines. This duality highlights his strategic manipulation of religious narratives to serve political objectives rather than genuine religious conviction.
Yeah, bro. Hitler was strategic with his manipulation, man. So he developed a narrative in order for him to be able to essentially operate from the shadows in the beginning. If I can get these people to fall for the okie doke, I can really make a lot of moves. And unfortunately, the church gets a bad rap because they have allowed in times past and even now have allowed these fraudsters and these charlatans in.
I'm gonna blame that, and this is from a Christian perspective, right? I'm gonna blame that on church leadership, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. You understand what I'm saying?
Sir.
Because I can't. It'd be weird for me to hold the sheep hostage or accountable for getting hit by a car when it's the shepherd that's supposed to be guiding them.
Right.
Facts.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna say this. We've been doing this. Well, the church has been doing this since the '60s. Does anybody remember? And I'm gonna name names. I don't care what anybody thinks or says, but I'm gonna say Martin Luther King. We followed after King, even though King was a complete unbeliever. We followed after Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. They were complete unbelievers, and they told us pretty much the same thing Hitler told the Germans. Hitler told the Catholics, the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now, We
Being polarizing.
mhm.
Hitler was guilty of genocide, right? Like everybody gets manipulated for whatever their motives are. People get manipulated all the time, political figures, et cetera, et cetera. You track what I'm saying? Um, I don't want to blur the lines with social figures such as Martin Luther King or the likes, given the fact that Hitler quite literally killed people. You get what I'm saying?
Well, I was just speaking about because you kind of opened the door a little bit. I was just agreeing with what you were saying.
No, I get you. That's why I said that's a conversation for another day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We can blame church leadership for the mishandling of the sheep. You track what I'm saying? But in this specific instance, I don't want to blur the lines because this man was guilty of actual genocide, and he shouldn't even be paralleled with the church in any way, shape, or form because he's not a Christian.
Well, no, definitely not. So I get what you're saying.
So let's go a little further. So Hitler's views on religion were not limited to Christianity, but extended to other faiths as well. He expressed admiration for certain aspects of Islam, Buddhism, as we also know, theosophy,
Hinduism too. Hinduism
and
too.
Hinduism, absolutely, finding them more aligned with his ideological leanings than Christianity. In Hitler's Table Talk, a collection of private conversations from 1941 to 1944, he openly criticized Christianity, labeling it as an absurdity. Hitler advocated for the gradual decline of Christianity, envisioning a future where scientific progress would overshadow religious beliefs. This reflects his belief in the superiority of scientific rationality over what he saw as the outdated and irrational aspects of religious doctrines.
Yeah, Hitler believed that Christianity was interfering with that, and as a matter of fact, Hitler used the swastika. I don't know if anybody understands where this is from because the swastika is actually older than
It's
a lot.
Hinduism.
I'm sorry.
Is an ancient Asian symbol from Hinduism, and
Yeah,
obviously Asian in India. Asia's in India. I mean, India's in Asia. But
Yeah,
continue.
we knew what you meant, bro.
Yeah.
yeah. India. Well, yeah, India is a part of Asia, but yeah, he used the swastika was used by a lot of the Hindus, and Blavatsky used it in her work, and Hitler used it in his, and his officers wore it on their uniform, and not only that, but they used the double lightning bolt, and this is interesting because after studying it, the double lightning bolt is not only Satanist symbolism, but it's a sig rune, and a sig rune is they were into, again, runes came from where? Came from Eastern philosophy.
Right.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about his inner circle. Within Hitler's inner circle, there were varying perspectives on religion and Christianity in particular. Joseph Goebbels, who I mentioned briefly earlier. Now, Joseph Goebbels was a prominent figure in Nazi Germany and Hitler's minister. Listen to this: minister of propaganda. He portrayed Hitler as deeply religious, though completely anti-Christian. In his diary entries from 1939, this characterization suggests that while Hitler may have exhibited some form of spirituality or belief system, it was fundamentally at odds with traditional Christian doctrines.
Hold on a second. So you telling me this man had a whole marketing representative, like a
Yep.
public relations person?
Yep. Called him the minister of propaganda. And by the way, Joseph Goebbels showed the film, which was called The Birth of a Nation.
Mm-hmm.
That really that was a brainwashing tool for what is called the Hitler Youth.
That's deep. So he basically was positioning this man as the next, I mean, propaganda in of itself is crazy when you have your own marketing team behind you, positioning you in the church scene, and then in your inner circle, you have somebody positioning you a certain way. For example, Martin Bormann, who was another influential figure within the Nazi regime. He asserted during the period of 1941 to 1945 that National Socialism and Christianity are irreconcilable, which the viewpoint underscores the ideological tensions between the party's principles and established religious institutions, and I'm highlighting the perception that National Socialism could not coexist harmoniously with Christianity.
What's wild is, didn't the Catholic Church come out and write letters opposing everything that this nigga was doing after they realized what he was up to?
Correct.
Yep.
So let's talk about the driving force behind World War II. So the first thing is nationalist fervor. Hitler's nationalist ideology aimed to unite all German-speaking peoples under one nation, emphasizing a sense of collective identity and national pride. So, at the Treaty of Versailles, which he imposed severe penalties and territorial losses on Germany after World War One. Well, those things that's what happened, but that fueled the desire to restore Germany's former glory and power. So during World War One, they lost a lot of territory. Hitler wanted it back. So he had expansionist ambitions. So his vision included acquiring Lebensraum for Germans, particularly in Eastern Europe. So he wanted living spaces in Eastern Europe to accommodate his population growth and provide resources for economic and military expansion. So the concept of territorial expansion was central to Hitler's ideology. So driving aggressive policies and military actions to annex neighboring territories and establish German dominance. So to annex somebody else's territory and then just move Germany right on in lets you know where his mind was. Number two, one of the ones that we often don't hit fully on is his racial ideologies. Hitler's racial beliefs centered on the idea that of Aryan racial superiority and the need to eliminate racial enemies deemed inferior, such as Jews, Romani people, Slavic populations, blacks. He was not a fan of those and others. So Nazi racial policies, including forced sterilization, mass killings, and the Holocaust, were driven by these ideologies of racial purity and supremacy.
I mean, that makes sense because he was a social Darwinist, right?
Thanks. He wanted blonde hair and blue eyes.
He was attempting to control the genetics of the population.
The genetic stock. Yeah,
exactly. It's like breeding, if you will, but wiping out the genes that you don't want in the population.
Absolutely.
Eugenics.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I was about to go there. Yep. So along with that, he had those territorial aspirations. He sought to reclaim the territories, like I said, lost after World War I, including parts of Poland. The goal of establishing a greater German empire in Europe involved territorial conquests, annexations, and the imposition of German rule over conquered territories. These driving forces, characterized by nationalist fervor, expansionist ambitions, racial ideologies promoting supremacy and exclusion, and territorial aspirations for dominance, were fundamental in shaping Hitler's policies and decisions that ultimately led to the outbreak and escalation of World War II.
Wow. This man, there's one thing to note about a psychopath. They want power. They want power and control.
That's what it was about. Yep. So his post-war views and legacy, I want to get into this briefly. So revelation, let's go with a revelation of his negative views. So in Rosenberg's diary entries, it indicated that Hitler's intentions to reveal his negative views on Christianity in his last testament. This reveals a significant aspect of Hitler's post-war legacy regarding his stance on religion. So he intended to let people know what was going on because he wanted to push his scientific thought process. He wanted to push his racism. He wanted to push,
which wasn't even based in science, which is
correct.
crazy. It wasn't even based in science. It was based in literal eugenics. They were trying to genocide away everyone that was not like them.
Yep.
Absolutely. So
it doesn't even go into it. Isn't it multi-side? It's not even genocide at that point. It's multi-side, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, you.
Oh no, I'm about to check. I gotta define that, bro. Hold on a second.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to just go to the next point. His scientific foundation of Nazism. Okay. There was a gentleman by the name of Richard J. Evans who highlighted Hitler's belief that Nazism is founded on science, reflecting a broader ideological perspective that prioritized scientific progress and rationality over religious doctrines.
Nah, it was genocide.
It was genocide. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then state primacy over religion. Keyword, state primacy over religion. And Ian Kershaw's analysis emphasizes Hitler's advocacy for state primacy over religious institutions, indicating a broader trend within Nazi ideology to subordinate traditional religious authorities to the goals and objectives of the state. So literally transitioning everything away from religion into state control, state sponsored everything.
Yeah, that's the hallmark of totalitarianism. Everything is controlled by the state, from healthcare to the banks to everything, to education, to media, to journalism.
Oof, man, this is scary because I'm seeing some shit in this that look real familiar today. That's all I'm saying.
As I was doing this presentation, putting it together, it made me realize the reality of today. And
facts. That should look real familiar, fam.
Those are the hallmarks of communism. Everything is state. But see, with Hitler wanted to nationalize socialism because he wanted to make Germany great again. But the thing,
I see what you did there. You did there.
Yes, sir. There you go.
And so what he did was he nationalized everything, thinking that, making everybody in Germany think that, we're going to have a piece of the pie. He's given us everything. He's given us free healthcare. He's given us all these things. And then all of a sudden they ended up the Jews ended up in the concentration camps because he wanted absolute power for himself. And only the elite have access to these things, as opposed to the lower, the people on the lower end of the totem pole.
You're right, bro. So I want to just conclude this by number one, discussing Hitler's private views and comments revealed a deeper skepticism or outright rejection of traditional Christian doctrine.
Honestly, can we even call it skepticism? Like, he outright said it was a religion for slaves.
Yep.
I mean, facts. Yeah. Let's talk about his criticism of Christianity was he expressed intense antipathy towards Christianity, viewing it as a religion for slaves, detesting its ethics, strategic use of religious narratives. He literally employed Christian rhetoric in public speeches for political expediency, showcasing a disconnect between his public persona and his personal beliefs. So basically, what he was saying in the streets wasn't what he was saying behind the scenes. So in conclusion, Hitler's private views, criticism of Christianity, and strategic use of religious narratives indicate that he was not a Christian. His use of rhetoric and propaganda to draw in support and the absence of religious motivations in World War II highlight the impact of nationalism and scientific ideologies on shaping his actions and the course of history. So the purpose of this presentation, and here's my sources, It was so much that I could have put in here, but because I was told by somebody that Hitler, he was a Christian. He wasn't.
Mhm.
He was never like, as Jamel so eloquently put earlier, that there's a lot of people that their parents had them in church at an early age, but when they became adults, they were no longer affiliated with the church. And as we saw that my man, not my man, I don't even want to call him my man, the guy, Hitler, he had a propaganda team set in place. He had spies in the church. And the whole time he was trying to break the church down and all religious institutions and remove them out of his Germanic state that he was trying to supercharge. And it was based on eugenics and communism. And unfortunately, when we have these discussions with certain people, they try to use the no true Scotsman fallacy, but there is no fallacy if we'll say
It just wasn't true. If it just wasn't true, there is no fallacy present.
Facts.
It's just all they're trying to do is push the narrative in order to make it stick. That's what this is. That's what this is. And honestly, even with this well put together presentation, by the way, I honestly don't expect them to have any sense of integrity about it. The intellectual integrity. I expect them to still keep on pushing that idea. Bro, there's sources. This is all Googleable, by the way. There's sources. All this information is compiled and put in a very digestible, palatable way for them to receive. And I still expect them, honestly, to still push the bullshit as if it's true. Like I'm prepared fully for them to continuously push it as if it's true. Like, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form they'll have any type of intellectual integrity and just accept it for what it is.
So let's summarize over the course of the last couple of weeks. The first presentation that was put together was on whether or not
religious wars were responsible for majority of the wars that were fought.
Yeah, and then we were able to see that religion is not the driving factor within wars. The second thing on that list of challenges that was given to me was whether or not atheism had X amount of bodies. What we were able to see within the presentation that I did was there was many, many bodies on the non-religious side. And a large swath of those.
Let's start calling it the godless side, right?
Yeah, the godless side, because these were wars that had nothing to do with deities.
Nothing at all.
These wars didn't have anything to do with deities, and so when we discuss, we have to concede to the Crusades being heinous. We don't hide that. You know what I mean?
But we're not going to pretend like religion was the basis of every war ever fought. Like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to make religion the basis for the countless amount of bodies fought over. Bro, there were so many wars. We're not going to say religion is responsible for that, because it's not. And it's intellectually dishonest to say otherwise.
And so we were able to cover that. And then because someone was able to say, or they attempted to say that Hitler, well, don't forget about Hitler. So if Hitler under the microscope could have withstood the scrutiny and we were able to put him in a Christian category, we would have, but he's not.
Blatantly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Leopold, which was mentioned, but has nothing to do with the original challenge that was given. But we do count his atrocities on the
religious side, and even then, it still doesn't compare to the godless. Let's call it the
godless, or lack of deities, or lack of belief side. It had nothing to do with beliefs. It had nothing to do with Bible. It had nothing to do with theology. No, it wasn't about theism at all, any form or shape or form. It was solely about whatever their motives were. Whatever their motives were, and we were able to see that Hitler himself was not a Christian. We were able to see that there were wars fought by atheists. We were able to see that there were non-religious wars or wars that lacked discussions about deities. So when we have these conversations for the Christian audience, if you paying attention, we dismantling a lot of the black communities or the conscious communities rhetoric, because a lot of it is just not true. It's just not real.
Yeah, and honestly, I challenge anybody to go and find this information. Go. I want people to go and actually try their best to refute the information that's present. This is all documented historically. All of it. All of it. You can Google this information. I mean, some of this shit was coming from his biography, for Christ's sake.
And some of it was coming from his actual table talks like he said it and they wrote it down and recorded it and then put it into book form. So that's to go against the man himself to try to say, nah, he was a Christian is crazy.
Yeah, that's bananas. That's bananas.
I mean, you can't question. And then his own circle, his own clique of homeboys, Goebbels, his own propagandist, his own what was the other guy, the armament, the guy who ended up becoming it was so much information that I did not want this to be an hour-long video, and here we are at less than 45 minutes, and we've been done for about 8 or 9. So it's just like, I just, shout outs to the dream team,
shout out to DMG, shout out to the Paradigm Shift.
Yeah, if you like what we doing at the channel, regardless if you like us, but you rock with DMG and you respect the channel, hit the like button. There's so many different types of content coming out. It's not just on the Christian side. You got people with all different walks of lives on this channel. Don't forget that there is about to be the battle of the ideologies debate tournament coming up. You got A1 versus Lord Benu. You got JFax or Jamel versus Pan. You got other people like Zion. I think he the number 1 seed. Then you got Takari on there. They coming in round 2, so they gonna get first picks off of whoever win these first 2 debates. I think we're gonna have a good season and a good showing. I just hope y'all stay tuned to what we got coming here at Paradigm Shift 314. Like I said, shout outs to the Craig and Craig law firm. Shout outs to DMG. Shout outs to David. Shout outs to the GT. Shout outs to the super team. We went three men
Trust
on the
and believe.
team.
Peace and blessings, King.
Trust and believe. Shout outs to my man Nobody. I'm just happy we was able to get this done. And again, y'all keep making comments. When y'all can say what y'all want. We shutting y'all arguments down. Keep pushing the goalposts back. It's gonna be in your backyard as much as y'all pushing.
Facts.
Closing statements, everybody.
Nah, I'm good, man. I just hope they stick to the facts and put all the other shit to the side. You know what I'm saying?
Dave, you got something?
It was an excellent presentation, and if this doesn't convince anybody that Hitler was not a Christian, I don't know what will.
Hey, I'm with you on this. Closing remarks for me would be just, if you want to check out the other presentation, that one was done maybe about a week ago. It was called Atheists in the Forefront. And then I did one before that called on transhumanism. That's just something else for y'all. That's a different ideologies about the upgrades and things that's coming down the pike in terms of electronics and technology and integration with the human body. Check those things out. We putting out more content. We got some great things coming. DMG got some great things coming. The Craig and Craig law firm, they got something coming too. So we appreciate y'all. Thanks for locking in with us. Y'all have a blessed one, and we are signing out.